What up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Nerd Journey Report. I'm your host, Pablo, and joining me, as always, is Mr. Brian Schultz. Brian, lots to talk about, a lot of developments.
Yeah, kind of a random potpourri.
Yeah.
Right.
Potpourri is the correct word. I like that word, potpourri. Damn, what game show did they have that on? Potpourri? Yes.
Oh, yes. A regular category.
Every time that one came up, I was like, yes, I got a chance. Denzel, man. Denzel has been a big deal as of late because of the rumblings of his performance in Gladiator 2, man. Apparently, Ryan Coogler has written a part for him. What it is, Brian, I don't know. Some people already are theorizing, like Comics Books Explained. He goes overboard with the theorizing, but he was saying that it was probably Blue Marvel. And I'm like, nah, I don't think so. I think he'll probably be, well, we'll discuss it, but that seems to be a big topic of this discussion. Fantastic Four storyline has been being rumored that Galactus' purpose of going to Earth has something to do with a family member of the Richards, right? So Brian said, I'm out. We'll hear why in a few moments. Reeves and LeFranc on why no Batman and Penguin, Brian. I am very interested in hearing what Reeves had to say. I read something about it, but I didn't really dwell too much about it. So we'll think deeper on it right now. The Andor storyline, some tidbits. The lightly raid plot pulled for the Star Wars productions, but Rey is key to the future. So again, there has been this notion that she will be somewhat of an Obi-Wan for the next generation of the Skywalkers. How will be very interesting.
Will it?
Because, yeah, Brian, I am curious, Brian, because you're gonna try to make this work. Okay, I'll sit back and watch.
Okay.
I'll sit back and watch. You know how you watch those dudes walk up crates? You're just gonna watch the disaster. So it's the same thing. Denzel in Black Panther 3. Ryan Coogler has written a part for him. There hasn't been any real notion of what character, Brian. Have you heard anything?
I've seen lists. We'll talk about it in a second. I think people are generally overcomplicating this, is my opinion. But let's get into it, because it is. I mean, talk about a news drop. I love Denzel. I just love it. Just sticks it right in the middle of an interview, like it's nuts. Breaks the internet.
Word, like this is big news.
Yeah,
because he's in Marvel. The one person that you probably never thought you'd see in the MCU.
But what a 1-2 punch too, because he didn't just say he was doing it. He said he basically was doing it as one of his final acting roles. He's about to retire. I mean, that's like a
retire in acting. Yes, he has more interest in directing. So yes.
Yeah, I didn't say he was working, but
yeah.
When you watch him, I mean, Equalizer 3 was 2 years ago. I mean, this guy could still make it happen. This part is in Gladiator 2 is supposedly all consuming. So for him to kind of walk off like this, I mean, I don't know. I mean, we are both skeptical about this Oscar buzzer on Gladiator 2. But if we entertain that for a second, the idea that he might be in contention for another Oscar and then be basically going on a retirement tour over the next couple of years, that's That's pretty close to the MJ shot, 98. I mean, he's still got it if that's the case, and he's going to walk off into the sunset and do a little franchise filmmaking on the way out. Like, come on, man, this is how it's done.
However Ryan Coogler does this, I think Denzel's involvement and his character will usher in the new Black Panther. He will give the speech. He will give the motivation, the inspiration for the new Black Panther. I'm telling you, he's going to be my Panther. I'm telling you, I'm going to hear it. He's going to go off. He's going to do something. So, yeah, that this being sort of his last roles as an actor is huge. And who knows how much money this can make? This can definitely, in terms of numbers, Brian, this is huge.
This is at least $100 million of box office automatic. This news alone is like, yes. I'm probably underselling Denzel's impact to the movie, but we don't know the scale of the part, I guess would be the caveat, right? If this is like, I don't think he's writing him a cameo. Like the way he said that, he's writing me a part. That makes me think it'll be like Gladiator 2. Like it'll be, see, some of the roles that I've seen are like big roles. Like, oh, what if he's playing like Magneto? What if no chance. No chance. He's not signing up for a decade's worth of work here, people. So don't give me a character that you know is going to be around for 6 movies. This is a one and done. Right? This is I'm coming out of the bullpen to strike out the side, and you'll never see me again.
That's it.
So to me, I think you hit on it. To me, for this to resonate, he has to be connected directly into the Black Panther character storyline. So either, to me, he could be an alt-universe T'Challa or T'Chaka. Like he could actually be that character in another, because there are very few actors that you could put that name on that people would not be upset about right now. And he's one of them.
Will this be the role that he finally does an accent, Bert?
I think off of Gladiator, that is a huge question after what he said publicly about not feeling like he could not feeling like he could do justice to the Midian accent, and therefore reverting kind of to his normal voice. I think that is a real question as to what he would do. But I think, you know, if he's either an alt universe character, but I think he's also could be some kind of mentor character to the son.
Yeah.
The sort of surrogate grandfather of sorts. That would make a lot of sense. You know, the Liam Neeson to Ewan McGregor, if you will, you know, in Phantom Menace, like that kind of role, which is, that could be sort of an original character or a loosely based comics character that would be easy to put in one movie, and then maybe he goes to the astral plane. Something happens that makes it clear he's not coming back, because I don't think he's doing, you know, 6 of these, 5 of these. I don't see it. He's working with Ryan Coogler before he retires.
Yes.
And I'm sure Coogler went to him and said, if you're going to retire, I want to get this done, and this is the project I have.
And Ryan Coogler's going to retire too from the MCU.
Yeah, it's also true. That's also
true. This is his opportunity to do something that he probably had been thinking about, and this is the best timing. This is the moment right now to do it. And so it'll be interesting.
I think Denzel,
very interesting.
Yeah, I think it's huge, because I think Denzel clearly eschewed franchise filmmaking for much of his career. But I think he recognized when he did The Equalizer and then wound up coming back to do the next 2 sequels, and he saw like A, those were success. All of them were successful.
Mm-hmm.
And B, I think that part for a younger generation, he became kind of synonymous with that, even though it wasn't like an awards nominated part. A lot of people, I think, who know him in part as The Equalizer is like a top 3 role they identify with. They don't remember, you know, Glory or Malcolm X maybe the way they should.
Hurricane.
Or even, you know, Training Day now is approaching 25 years old. So I think that might have given him a taste that, like, hey, before he goes out, you know, MCU is sort of cinematically relevant no matter what anyone thinks of it. And so he's like, look, I can be a part of that, and I want to be a part of that in a small way before I retire. It's a bucket list type of thing. And I I salute him for doing it, and he will certainly elevate the project in whatever capacity he's involved in. So it was just sort of this awesome thunderbolt out of a clear sky that he just put in the press junket.
Yeah. Wow. Very interesting. Let us know in the comment section below what you guys think of that announcement. And will you hear my Panther? Fantastic Four.
Okay. It's so good.
Oh, snap. Fantastic Four storyline. Galactus.
Yeah.
His purpose for going to Earth. Not because he's hungry, but he requires or needs something or someone. You said, I'm out. What was that word? Enlighten me.
This is part rumor, part fact. So Disney gave us the official synopsis of the film and put kind of a tease in the synopsis that then the rumor mill ran with. So here's the synopsis first. This is official. Quote, forced to balance their roles as heroes with the strength of their family bond, they, meaning the Fantastic Four, must defend Earth from a ravenous space god called Galactus and his enigmatic herald, Silver Surfer. And if Galactus's plan to devour the entire planet and everyone on it wasn't bad enough, it suddenly gets very personal. End quote. Okay. The personal part is rumored to be Galactus targeting Franklin Richards, the son of Reed and Sue, saying that he has issued an ultimatum to the family, saying to surrender the boy to him or he will destroy the planet.
Shout outs to Tracy because he had mentioned this storyline to me. And I was under the impression, or I was thinking like, Franklin Richards is something else. You know, he's like near the one above all. You know what I'm saying? He's you know what I'm saying? So it's like
Omega level.
Yeah. And they made Eternity a freaking genie, for God's sake. So so shout out to Tracy for pointing that out to me. And I was under the impression I don't think they were gonna go there, but it seems like seemingly that they are.
Right, because it is also one of the storylines where Shalabao does become the Silver Surfer, one of the few times that happens, right? I think this is also in this same comic where this might be getting drawn from. But yeah, I mean, look, why am I out? Or, color me incredibly concerned. Number one, why is it all about the kids everywhere we turn? Maybe I'm the old guy on the porch with the shotgun now in the MCU fandom, but we know about the Young Avengers obsession. Franklin Richards is not officially part of the Young Avengers in comics canon, although who's to say he's not in this case. But it just seems that Disney in their quest to regain a younger audience for the Marvel properties is continuing to look to center things around kids and around the next generation, right? We just went through the whole Blade's daughter, just this hang up. I don't know what to call it. That seemed to paralyze that project. And now here we see, look, we finally get the Marvel Studios iteration, the Fantastic Four, and we can't have it just be the Fantastic Four. The MacGuffin has to be their son, who, as you said, isn't just any old son. I mean, he's a son who reaches cosmic, intergalactic level abilities. And we're doing this in one.
You don't hear the word intergalactic very often, people.
Not for one pick. So that's what I'm saying is okay, so I gotta reacquaint myself with the first family who's already the Fantastic Four in an alternate universe New York in the 1960s. I have to credibly buy into your version of Galactus, your version of the Silver Surfer, and now I have to make room to develop the character of the son as the true motivation for everything that's happening. It's too much, man. I just think I think they're biting off more than they can chew for a movie that 1000% has to hit big. Has to hit.
Yeah.
This just seems, and that's why we've been talking about with Brave New World, another movie that seems very convoluted, very complicated, with too many characters, too many storylines. And like here again, it's like, can we spend time with the family? Can we spend time with the family against, a non-Galactus level threat for now? And instead it's like, no, we gotta Jackson Pollock this movie and put everything in it in one shot, throw it against the wall and hope it sticks.
It's just upsetting, man. It's upsetting that they're going all out now instead of after this next iteration of the MCU. Right? Why don't we do something more compelling that leads us to Secret Wars? Why not do Doctor Strange and their quest to stop all these incursions? Let's see what's that all about. Perhaps that sets up the Secret Wars. But no. And we're trying to do Doom, yo. Let's do Doom the right way. Brian, that's what he said. So what about the next Doom? Do it whatever? Or just do whatever, Doom, yeah. I don't get it.
Well, so we can get it from a couple of standpoints. Is one, desperation for money. So they're just going through the catalog and they're like, we may not get another shot at this. So we're just emptying the roster. There's a little bit of that when you see a movie like this. The other part of it, we've talked about sort of, comes and goes in the background is how long is Kevin doing this? And like, if he's not doing it,
how much there is this for him, yeah.
Right? Like, is he like, I got to see this character on screen before I go? And he's kind of maybe sacrificing a little bit of that long-term vision to get some of his wish list up on the big screen or on the small screen, before he exits stage left. So I don't know, but this just feels like a formula for 3 movies in one, where I can already see the critical response of there's potential, there's good performances, there's a good movie in here, but it's bogged down by this exposition or this extraneous character.
I've said enough things for Kevin to feel a little bit of offense. But if I would or could have the conversation with him, I'd be like, I'm telling you, the Silver Surfer cartoon, the way they did that, how you can explore that and have those two entities or worlds collide at some point because of Galactus's purpose, right? And the Silver Surfer's assistance in finding that energy source or whatever, right? I like the way how the Eternals were sort of setting that up and how Galactus would just sort of like come get an egg, right? It was just sort of, him eating. But now they've turned it into something else. We're finally getting the Galactus that we wanted to see. I just don't know how I feel about such deviation from what could be a spectacle and a compelling story and relationship between the Surfer and Galactus into Galactus wanting this kid whose intergalactic skills, whatever, is beyond, and we have to sort of, I guess, I don't know, Brian. It's going overboard for me.
Yeah, no, I think it's in this genre, one size does not fit all, right? So on the one hand, you have Deadpool and Wolverine, which broke records and exceeded our expectations and was every bit the event we thought it would be, but then had more staying power and more popularity than we thought it would. But I don't think the lesson from that movie is to use that as any sort of template for future projects, right? That's a culminating project for 2 very popular, successful characters and actors coming together.
There you go. Characters.
Fantastic Four has nothing to do with that.
And actors.
Yes, absolutely. Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman, in those parts. It's those parts and them in those parts.
Can I say this one thing? I'm gonna keep reiterating this, and I know I've said this in the show before, but Tango and Cash, a remake for them too. I know they're talking about Face Off, but Tango and Cash, Brian, that is easily almost $1 billion. Continue.
That movie is now criminally underrated, by the way.
Which one, Tango and Cash?
Because not commercially successful at the time, but if you
But entertaining as hell.
Good movie, exactly.
Yeah.
Stallone did a few of those. I like Nighthawks too, back in the early '80s with Billy D. Williams. That was also.
I gotta rewatch that. I saw it once and I just couldn't stay. You know, I saw it was interesting. It was something new, but I didn't really pay too much attention. I'll probably take a look at it again.
So, but I just think Deadpool and Wolverine was, specific to that project. Like, I don't think applying that logic to, anything else is necessarily a great idea. I think with Brave New World, I think they've already gone too far afield in terms of scale and characters and mixing and matching. I think that's going to be problematic for that. I did hear, which would be to the counter of my belief, I did hear the first test screening for Thunderbolts went really well. I did hear that's very enough actually about what they saw in that. Wow, that maybe that's a function of lower expectations, but like people seem to think there was some A, good stuff in there, and that B, the one thing I heard was actually Sentry did not look ridiculous. Like the way they modified the suit and the way the way he was played actually kind of worked as like a Superman character. So anyway, just two things to chomp on.
I would have to say you can add this to Kevin's refocus. Because Born Again is an example of him pumping the brakes and destroy that. Let's do this. Right? Yeah. And we can think about all that he's done with Captain America 4, which we are still sort of, I'm curious to see what this puzzle piece looks like.
Yeah. I'm with you. Look, I mean, these are both movies that I'll go see opening weekend. I just have had my doubts about the scale of Thunderbolts being appropriate and then Cap 4 seeming too convoluted. I bring this up about Thunderbolts as a contrast to Cap 4, which remember, the test screening results were disastrous to the point where they basically reshot the entire movie. So if nothing else, you can put those two things side by side and say the idea of Thunderbolts audiences seem to have maybe gravitated towards. So maybe that one could be a bit of a sleeper in a very crowded year. So anyway, put that out there as good news for Marvel. But then we go back to Fantastic Four, which to me looks more like Cat 4. It's like, we got a lot going on here that you got to pull off. Yeah, for us to buy in. And I love the motif that you gave me in the teaser, but now you're giving me all these things that feel like we should be editing and spreading out into movies 2 and 3 and being patient in a way that we were patient, in the build up to Endgame. And now seemingly Disney doesn't seem to believe the audience will be patient with them anymore as they sort of rebuild this. And I completely disagree with that. People's impatience is not about storyline development. It's actually about the opposite. People I think feel like they are rushing. People feel like they aren't giving them characters time to breathe and for us to kind of really coalesce behind them. And so as a result, I think I would go the other way and slow it down even more. But, this project doesn't feel that way to me.
Certainly, there are a lot of concerns, Brian, and here in the Nerd Report, we voiced our concerns, and we've been wrong before. This conversation would sound similar prior to the release of Far From Home or No Way Home. Which one was the last one? No Way Home.
No Way Home, the big one. Yeah.
No, so you know what I'm saying. So, but
again, though, that's a third film, not a first.
Yes,
and we were still concerned.
Yes.
But that was a culminating film. Again, they're doing this in the first shot. I mean, the thing that makes me scared, too, because, we've had this conversation a little bit about Superman with all these characters that are in Superman and James Gunn trying to tell everyone, no. These characters are in for like one scene. There's only like 10 actual characters who talk. If we get to the end of July next year and both of those movies are complicated messes, we're not in a good place, man. Because they come out like 2 weeks apart.
Yeah.
And if they're both like oversaturated and trying to do too much, and they're both trying to do similar things in the sense of they're trying to launch new paths for the MCU and this DCU. But if they both kind of are bogged down by too many characters and too many storylines, I mean, that's going to be an unfortunate place for us to be potting from.
Yeah. Let us know in the conversation below what you guys think of this storyline that they're seemingly going towards for Galactus's purpose of going to Earth. I'm telling you, check out that Silver Surfer cartoon. The first 2 episodes, I think it's the first episode, really. But it's just great how that all starts. Reeves, LeFranc on why no Batman and Penguin.
You know what's interesting about this is they gave a different answer. That's what I thought was so notable. It was in different forms. So Matt, I'll give you Reeves first because I know I'll let you say what your response was. I'll go, okay, great. So Reeves was asked by Digital Spy about this exact question. And he said, quote, "This was a time of great turmoil in the city. It's literally the week after what happened. Much of the city is in desperation, so the police can't get everywhere. There's crime everywhere. It's a very, very dangerous time. Batman's out there trying to grapple with the aftermath of everything that happened, which to some degree he blames himself for," end quote. And your response was, not good enough.
Okay. Let me gather my thoughts here. This was one thing that, although the performances, the storyline was quoting Mr. Han,
extraordinary.
The timeline as to when things were happening in this show was pretty it was that little sort of moment, right?
We talked about this. When the Penguin gets to his lair and then the operation is up and running with scale, that's the moment where I asked the question, how much time just passed from episode to episode? Everything up until that point was flashback and sort of could conceivably have happened within a day or two. But after that is this had to have been weeks.
Yeah.
Had to have been weeks to get this thing up and running the way they did.
Yeah.
So that's where this argument gets a little shaky. So go ahead.
He blames himself. It's give me a headline, Bruce Wayne is not missing, but not, because Ra'al, again, they set that up in the first movie when Ra'al is talking to Bruce Wayne, when she was telling him that he needs to be more of a philanthropist or whatever, right? Help out. You got all this dough, you ain't doing whatever it is. Let's help Gotham.
Yeah.
So there should have been some sort of background. We don't need Batman in the night. We don't need to see him. And that's the thing that people seem to not quite understand, that there is a difference between Batman being involved and Batman just his presence, Bruce Wayne's presence, Oz, what's his dude, Alfred running to the bank. I don't know anything. Gordon being the one visiting Falcon, anything to make it more of I didn't mind the other dude, the horse guy. I didn't mind him. But I'm saying if you wanted to take it on another level, give us something. Don't give me that this dude is just he crying. What is he doing at home then?
So I agree with you. The Reeves answer is strangely unsatisfying. What makes this more interesting is Lauren LaFranc went on the Ringerverse after the show was over, and she was asked this question, and she gave a very different answer, which I thought was far more interesting.
Okay.
She said, you can find it. You can go find it on House of R. They're great, and they had her on for 30 minutes. She said it was thoroughly talked about. The first part of it is exactly the one we discussed. It's the one I told you they would tell you. They were worried about too much Batman symbolism taking away from what that was number one. So I told you that's what they would tell you. And she said that was true. But number two, she said, don't forget, I'm paraphrasing, this is a year 2 Batman. He hasn't figured it all out yet. And based on his previous encounters with Oz at the Iceberg Lounge, he doesn't think much of him yet and underestimates what he's capable of. I thought that was actually a more interesting answer for where this might be going. The idea that he might be aware of some of this and thinks this guy's not big time enough for me.
Just like everybody else thinks of him. Just like everybody else thinks of him.
And that's why I thought the answer was interesting, because it's a mistake. And she's basically saying he's making a mistake that he's going to pay for.
Yeah.
That, at least to me, was like, okay, because you can write that into something interesting in the future when he realizes he made a mistake.
That would have been a more satisfying answer, but I still would have been a proponent of give me something.
So my answer to her, and this goes to you, it made me think about Batman in this show situationally. I think there's a way to do what she's saying and also do what we're saying. And it makes me go back to that Sophia. It makes me go back to the Sophia episode, like in the asylum, because there, if you have the other inmates talking about Batman, putting some of them there, that is not taking away from Batman underestimating Oz. That's simply showing his footprint on the city, which I think is still really important. And so I think that made me rethink there's some situations where maybe we would have accepted Batman not being aware of some of Oz's plans because he didn't think he was a big time guy. But there's other scenes, to your point, where we could have shown the influence of the character, either as Bruce or as Batman, that would have, I think, helped the overall fabric of Gotham to be like, this guy's influence is being felt elsewhere. It just hasn't collided head on with Oz yet.
My fellow nerdgents, watch the first few moments of the Batman.
Yeah.
Anything. If we know the Batman the way we know the Batman, he is even more intense. He blames himself. He is going at it. He is out there.
And they're already shown as the street criminals are scared already in year 1 and 2. They're showing that. They're giving that to you on screen, that they don't know what to make of him. So I think there was a happy medium here that maybe they were too scared to, that she's kind of saying they were a little too scared to go to because they didn't want to disturb the Penguin story. I think they could have done it and it would have been added to. But I do like her angle if they play it out.
Yes.
Because it does set up, if we set up Penguin as mastermind, like we talk about, and Batman doesn't think he's capable of it, that actually could be very interesting.
Yeah. Let us know in the comment section below what you guys think of these reasons that the creators of the Penguin have given us as to why the Batman's presence was not felt up until the very last moment. Now he is worthy of the Batman's attention, right?
Can we link in? Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead. I was
going to say that Batman's attention for the Penguin didn't really need to be there. His presence just, too many thugs, and this dude is at home soaking in what he should be happy he saved all the lives he did. But certainly, yeah, he may feel some guilt, but that, I think, that is the thing that drives him, I think. Right?
Yep.
Go ahead. You want to say something?
So I want to bring in your Lantern's release date tidbit here. So James Gunn said they're going to release Lanterns around the same time as they put out Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow in theaters. Okay. So I went and looked at the calendar just to make sure I had this right before we did this. So may not have this quite right because we had thought maybe they could rush a Penguin season 2 to get that in front of Batman Part 2. It looks like Lanterns might actually take that spot because if you look at the calendar, right? So Supergirl comes out the end of June 2026.
Mhm.
Batman Part 2 is scheduled to come out October 2nd, 2026. So if you run an 8-episode show, 1 episode a week, starting it somewhere in July, it will end somewhere in September, which magically would be almost exactly between those 2 movies coming out. So maybe they are trying a version, maybe not the exact version we would have expected, but they are trying a version of connecting the content to keep DC front and center. And we don't know if Lanterns as a show has any connection to any of the other, places in the world they want to go. Probably not to Batman Part 2, you wouldn't think. But maybe they are trying a little flavor of what we said. Release a movie, have a show, release a movie, and have it all kind of be in the conversation. Now, I think that, maybe they'll do Penguin Season 2 connected to Batman 3. Maybe they could still do that. But it's getting warmer. It's not perfect, but maybe they're getting a little bit smarter about how to place their calendar. Anyway, so I just wanted to note that. The timing looks conspicuous.
Let's see, because they may be trying to set that up and give Supergirl a chance to be successful.
Well, maybe Supergirl has connection to the Lanterns world. That could be possible.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a globe-trotting or an intergalactic story, right? Who's to say there isn't a Lantern cameo or some kind of reference to the core somewhere in that? That could be very possible.
Yeah.
Boy, I tell you what, though, when I see that calendar, though, it does underscore to me the Superman better hit. Right? Because it's like, yeah, we get Peacemaker Season 2. Yeah, we get Creature Commandos. That's all well and good. But, like, Superman is setting the table for that. For Supergirl, Lanterns, Batman Part 2 in a row. And if Superman just leaves us with a sour taste in our mouth, that's going to be a whole different set of anticipation than if it's really good.
Scenario time. You come out of the theaters and Superman is whack, Brian? For a week, I don't want to know about DC. I don't want to know about their projects. I don't want to know. I don't care right now. I want to be understanding why this movie didn't crack the way it was supposed to. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, we might do like a multi-part post-mortem. We probably will do that anyway.
It will be a marathon, yes. Because this was your opportunity. This was the opportunity to really bring back the intent of Superman, and then we'll move on to Andor. The intent of Superman is to bring back the DC emblem. Superman was the one. And he's been the guy in Super Friends, the first dude to get got. Useless. That cannot be anymore.
If it's not good and the box office is disappointing, how soon do you think Zack Snyder pays for a re-release of Man of Steel?
That's it.
Oh my God. Ugh. Anyway, let us know in the comments below what you guys think of those developments there. Andor storyline tidbits, Brian. Likely Rey film slot pulled, but Rey is key to the Star Wars future run. I said that she could be an Obi-Wan type of character. Our feelings towards, and I just listened to our episode a few hours ago. I was editing, so I was putting in all the images and stuff like that. And man, nothing's changed. So your thoughts? What you want to talk about Andor for it?
Yeah, let's deal in the positive and the then we'll deal with we'll deal with Emperor Kennedy, her latest schemes. Second season Andor coming in April. A couple of tidbits here that and we've seen. If you look, there's a Disney Plus montage teaser for 2025 around. You can find it on YouTube that has some Andor footage in it, which looks amazing. It also has footage from other shows throughout the year, including like Ironheart, things like that, little things like that. Diego Luna mentions that because of the more compressed timeline, remember in the first season it was 1 year, and this season it's 4 years. So each block of 3 episodes covers a year. So he said we move in space more than ever. So the amount of planets and the sets you're going to get to see, one of which is confirmed to be Yavin 4, most notable for the Rebel base in New Hope. And Tony Gilroy says, I mean, we have to end up at Yavin, right? So we tell the story of Yavin. And no one has quite dealt with Yavin the way we will be doing it. And then he also said, or Luna then also adds about K2SO, the droid from Rogue One. From an audience perspective, they made their own story about how Cassian and K2 got to work together. And it probably tells you a lot about Cassian that his best friend is a droid, and a droid he had to reprogram. But how did that happen? And who was he before? Those are questions to be answered. Then we also had Ben Mendelsohn, who, of course, played Director Krennic in Rogue One and who is going to be in season 2 of this show, where he kind of says, maybe a little bit tongue-in-cheek, because he's talking about Deidre Miro, who probably was the show's scene-stealing villain of the first season. And he said, if they didn't see eye to eye, that's cute. Deidre versus Krennic, I think that's a bit of a mismatch. They're all underlings to Krennic, and they're all going in one direction. But the Empire, if you speak your mind, there's always going to be differences of opinion. So we get a little bit there on both sides of the coin and some of the things coming in, all of which I think is exciting. I mean, I think if we talk about things that are most likely guaranteed successes and things we'll be celebrating, this is probably at or near the top of the list for 2025. So, I mean, I can't wait. I thought the little bits of footage they showed were very exciting in the little trailer. It still looked great. So
yeah, I can't wait, man. I can't wait. These are one of those episodes that sort of started the trend of, for me anyway, of how good an episode can be, each and every time out. I wasn't too much, again, I'm not too much into the fantasy, like Game of Thrones and stuff like that, but I've watched it and it's just excellent.
No, you're right. That's a great point, because we just went through this with Penguin, where he felt like they went 8 for 8. Andor won 12 for 12. I mean, there's no bad episodes in that show.
Yeah, it's amazing to me. And I've heard the comments of, "Oh, I'm tired." I'm the tiredness of being of the Star Wars world, even though this story really doesn't have. It's certainly a piece of the puzzle of the entirety of the entire storyline, but that question of how does a rebellion start, this was just a perfect visual representation or story of how that would all come about, and it was just amazing.
See,
amazing.
The one sentence pitch. That's it. I guarantee you that's what it was. I guarantee who walked in the room was like, how does a rebellion start?
Yeah,
that's it.
Yes. That was it. That was actually it. That was the actual question he asked about.
Yeah.
How do we make a show about this?
Yeah.
So let us know in the comment section below what you guys think of Andor. And are you guys gonna? I'm telling you, you guys need to share it with your friends, man, because this is a wonderful show.
Yeah.
Likely Rey film slot pulled, but Rey is key to the future of the Star Wars franchise, Brian. I already told you this is an Obi-Wan, I think, banana in the tailpipe situation.
I love the reference to that movie. It's just hilarious.
Your thoughts? I know you out and I'm out. And again, you'll hear our conversation about this whole thing, and it really hasn't changed, but this is happening.
So first off, there's a lot of things we get wrong. There's certain things you need to listen to us on. And, this original New Jedi Order project, at every announcement, you can find it. Every show we said, we kind of just were like calling BS on all of it. We're like, this is not going to happen. This is not going to happen. It's not going to happen because they pulled it. So they never officially said this was the slot, but everyone seems to think it was Christmas 2026, December 18th, 2026 was supposed to be New Jedi Order. And in the week following the announcement that Simon Kinberg was doing a new Star Wars trilogy centered with Rey as a key character, i.e. the Obi-Wan, in what is hotly rumored to be the Skywalker Saga episodes 10, 11, and 12. In the week following that news, and in the month following the news that Stephen Knight, who was writing New Jedi Order, had quit the project to focus solely on his Peaky Blinders film, Disney pulls the slot and gives it to Ice Age 6.
Wow.
This movie's dead. Because if they're making for better or for worse, if they are making Skywalker Saga 10, 11, 12, and Rey is going to be the Obi-Wan Jedi mentor, then the Charmin Obaid-Chinoy movie is toast.
Done. Yeah. I mean, like,
what we told you would happen way back.
Yeah.
That this was a bad idea. It was a rushed idea. You know, Kathy seemed to kind of just pull a fast one on everyone to kind of get this off the ground, and now it's not going to make it. And it's going to join the scrap heap of all these other Star Wars projects that she shepherded and announced and never made it.
I call it shenanigans. You had another word, but I call all this stuff shenanigans.
If Daisy Ridley is going to get to star in a couple of these movies, yes, maybe it wasn't a total embarrassment. But they walked her out on stage, man. They walked her out on stage to announce this project that no one else seemed to know was happening. And now it's disappeared entirely.
What pitch,
so they can do some other new idea.
What sort of pitch would you give for this to work? Because there had to be something good for you to feel like, even though there weren't any details that were shared about the storyline or anything like that, but you're just greenlighting films with these names with characters that, for the most part, the majority of people didn't like.
Like, I don't know this part of it, but I think our best guess is probably what Charmin Obaid-Chinoy said about the project, right? I mean, that probably was the closest we got to her pitch about that. It's high time we had, you know, the female voice of Star Wars and a female everything Star Wars movie. And I think that was the pitch. And Kathy Kennedy was all about that until Disney wasn't. You know, that was pre-Bob Iger's return. And there have been rumors that he, in his editing of the catalog and the release schedule, that this was one of the movies he wasn't necessarily a fan of. Again, that's not confirmed, but the timing kind of fits. But I think that's what the pitch was. Girl power Star Wars, right? A4, right? I think that's what the pitch was.
And it's not to say, hey, listen, this is a business at the end of the day. This is not no other thing. This is certainly something that can be dope. But if it doesn't make dollars, it just don't make sense. You know what I'm saying?
But that's what I'm saying. So go back to what we talked about. This project became contaminated from the get-go. That's my point. Commercially, we talked about, like, when those quotes started to come out and you started to see the backlash before they'd even like written a script and even shot a scene, to me, it's like, you know that this is dead on arrival. How is this movie supposed to be a huge hit when there's a large vociferous segment of the fandom rooting against it from the get-go? That's tough to overcome. Yeah. And that's what happened with this. So I would guess Simon Kinberg's pitch was the more, well, okay, we like Daisy Ridley and we want to roll with Daisy Ridley. So you know what? Let's just retreat back to what we know. Let's just make it a Skywalker continuation and try to make amends a little bit for Rise of Skywalker. That's safer ground. And for the moment, that's what Disney's buying into. Now, I still don't have my doubts as to whether this is going to happen, because it does feel like the Rian Johnson trilogy or the Benioff and Weiss trilogy, neither of which will ever happen. But my guess is they basically pivoted and said, we don't want to release Daisy Ridley from contract. We want her involved. But this new Jedi Order movie is just radioactive. We can't make it. So to save face, we'll pivot toward Skywalker 10. That's what it looks like to me. But I ask you commercially, when I see this thing about she is central to the future of Star Wars, again, this has nothing to do with her as an actress. It has nothing to do with the gender of the character. It has everything to do with just Rey and how Star Wars fans perceive Rey. Is that the right move? Should she be the cornerstone of the future of Star Wars? That's the question we should be debating. So the quotes, by the way, just a Hollywood Reporter, quote, key to the franchise's next turn, quote, internal deliberation within Lucasfilm as to what to do with the heir to Skywalker next. Quote, she is the most valuable cinematic asset Star Wars has right now, and in some ways, maybe the only one, end quote.
You know,
Really? She's the MVP of the Star Wars verse right now? Is that true? If we went out and poll, maybe I'm just out of touch with Star Wars fans. We polled 1,000 Star Wars fans. Would she win the MVP award of Star Wars right now?
I gotta learn how to do polls now. I gotta learn how to put it in there because I gotta understand how is she valuable, the most valuable.
I mean,
The most valuable thing you got is Star Wars.
yeah, okay, for the IP itself, but like,
Yes.
if we're doing individual characters, I would have guessed Mandalorian and Grogu as a 1-2 would have been above her. No,
Hence the reason why you're doing the movie and no more series.
and that movie's done. That movie's actually happening. Like, I was shocked when I read that quote that she's perceived as the MVP of the most valuable asset in the Star Wars verse right now.
We haven't heard any plot storylines for Mandalorian, correct?
You mean the movie? No, they kept that one pretty nicely under wraps. Yeah, we don't know. It's been shot, but we don't know.
This could be really, really good, right? And the hope is that it is.
I don't think there's any way it's bad. I think the question is whether it is.
Because to see it on screen in the movie theater is going to be pretty, you know.
I think it's whether it deserves that. I think it's whether we get into an IMAX theater and we feel that it was justified that we paid our dollars to see it versus on TV. That's the question.
Yeah, let us know in the conversation below what you guys think of the latest in the Star Wars saga for the struggle. I don't know. There is talk about Star Wars. I can't wait for the documentary about all this because there is that. The title for this is going to be Star Wars.
The title of that was going to be, I'm not leaving. That's what the title of that is. It's going to be a little different with the making of original Trilogy.
I'm not leaving. Oh, man.
I don't know. Listen, I actually generally like Daisy Ridley as an actress.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of roles that she can do.
I think there's things they missed with that character that probably could have been pretty interesting, but I just find it so bizarre that that the way that last trilogy ended, that they really want to carry that forward. That felt like the greatest invitation for a clean slate that I've almost ever seen in fandom. And for them to be like, no, this is what we have. This is our, true Jedi Knight going forward. I don't know. I mean, I feel like in sports, when you hit your wagon to the wrong star, that gets the front office fired. And like, I don't know, if this doesn't go well, which I kind of feel like it's starting an uphill battle already.
Yeah. Last thing before we wrap this one up, James Gunn confirms R-rated DCU movies, emphasizes story over MPA rating. Your thoughts?
Look, I think it's great. I mean, I think why are we scared about that? Because you just look at Deadpool and Wolverine, look at Joker 1, right? The R rating has not stopped.
Money machine, yeah.
Right? The R rating has not stopped audiences from going to the theater. And in fact, the case of Deadpool and Wolverine, I think there's probably far more younger audiences that were taken to see that than probably should have been.
Absolutely.
So I just, I think it is more just a marker than it is like an audience killer.
I'd say it's like, you wouldn't do R-rated for Care Bears, where it's appropriate. Like the Grifter, I think is an R-rated sort of a character, right? The Grifter, I think Tracy has mentioned that character.
Oh, okay. I was thinking of what was that? I was thinking of not comic book, but didn't they do what was it? Violent Night, which was like a murderous Santa last year. It's like a Santa slasher movie. So who says they can't do R-rated Care Bears?
They can do whatever they want, yes, but it has to be appropriate, obviously, right? For especially for like you can't do a Punisher PG-13 Punisher.
No,
you can't do
that's the thing. There's characters that the R rating is necessary.
Exactly.
We even having this debate over Blade. It sounds like, if this ever happens, they did finally settle on R, but like that, there was a talk they were going to make that PG-13 for a while, and that's inexcusable.
There's a lot going on. The Denzel situation is huge. Will it result in dollars? The MCU certainly hopes so. And perhaps this is Ryan Coogler's sort of, I don't know, inspiration, like dream or something like that to
Oh, I think so.
to do this, right?
I'm sure this is one of his idols, and I'm sure that would
Yeah. Fantastic Four storyline. I don't know if I'm in it. I want to see what this looks like. I'm curious. And I think that's what that money will show. That box office will show how curious people are about this film and what it looks. In terms of what the story is, the reviews, I don't know, but I think we're gonna probably. I'm predicting around 60.
I think that's fair. I wouldn't disagree with you on that. I don't think it'll be horrible, but I don't think it'll be where we were consistently.
Yeah.
Winter Soldier, those guys are in the 90s. I don't think we're seeing that.
Yeah. Reeves, Frank, and why no Batman and Penguin? Two separate answers. One of them more acceptable, still yet not enough for me, but could have possibly been given a payoff at the end of that explanation, right? Whereas the other one seemed like, what?
Before we wrap up, HBO's been on YouTube's. They've been putting out some nice little behind the scenes stuff now that the show is done. If you guys can find, there's a little series of little videos of Colin Farrell and Kristen Milioti rewatching the show and talking. It's pretty fun. When they get to the finale, it gets revealed that Kristen, and at least in the video, Kristen Milioti has not seen the finale. So
Wow.
Colin Farrell's already seen it. She hasn't. And so they're watching that opening scene with the mom, like at Monroe's. And they revealed, this felt like, even though Matt Reeves wasn't directing, it kind of was like classic Reeves. They revealed that they had to shoot that scene over and over again for multiple days.
Wow.
When I watched that
scene again, the beginning scene?
the scene where they're going to cut the mom's finger off and Oz won't admit what he did.
Wow, okay.
Imagine shooting that scene like 100 times or 60 times. That's insane. I was like, and she had, so she's getting like disturbed by her own performance because she hasn't seen it on screen. Wow. It's interesting. It's like a fun watch. I thought I had a good time with that.
I gotta look up some interesting information about why so many takes. What is it about all these other takes that you choose that one over those 60 or 70? How many? You know what? Whatever it could. I don't know. It's very interesting. But yeah, let us know in the comments below what you guys think of the reasons for the Batman not being there, Andor, the storyline there, the race situation, and the Star Wars future. Man, that is a whole situation there. Remember to hit that like and subscribe. Thank you. We appreciate the subscriptions. We appreciate the watch. Going to continue reporting on what's going on the Nerd Gen Report.
The show